Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel and I'm here to show you guys my custom project that was made in Unreal Engine's Paper 2D. It's a side-scroller platforming game and I'm really happy and excited to show this game to you guys because I really put my heart into this and I think it's pretty fun. So I'll let you judge the game, and I'll stop talking now and let's play. So as you can see, our character here can jump, can move, can run as well. And apparently you can double jump, so I added that mechanic because you can't reach some platforms if you don't double jump, so you need to double jump. And you will be able to glide as well. You have like a control while you're in air, which is really neat because you will be able to slow down your pace or change direction while you jump. And I also made these obstacles. This is peppermint water. If I fall down, I will die and I will just reset back to the start of the game. My spawn location, that is. So as you can see, I'm collecting the collectibles across the map, which are cherries. And as I collect them, the counter at the bottom right of the screen is taking the number of cherries that I have currently collected. And there's a timer as well at the bottom part of the screen besides the cherry. And this timer is just basically counting the time which you have not yet completed collecting all the cherries. So once you collected all the cherries, you will be able to win, and you will be rated by the amount of time that it took you to collect all of the cherries. So let's win the game, and I'll show you the end screen. As you can see, the total amount of time I took to get all the cherries is 1 minute and 49 seconds. My rating is 2 stars, and I have collected all of the cherries and I won. And now we can escape the game. So that's basically it. So again, I will discuss the implementations that I have here in my game. I have a double jump mechanic. I have these platforms, which are just basically box collisions. If I collide with the box, trigger box collision, I will die. It's basically peppermint water. I call it peppermint water. And then we have the collectible mechanics, which if you collect all of them, you win the game. And there's a timer as well that takes the time of how long did you or were you able to collect all those cherries. And I put like a rating system as well. If you collect all the cherries within 1 minute or below 1 minute, you will get 3 stars. If you collect all the cherries before 2 minutes, you'll get 2 stars. And if you get all the cherries before 3 minutes, I think, is it 3 minutes? No, it's 2 minutes, sorry. Before 2 minutes, you get 1 star, and after that, you get no stars at all. And if you stay idle for like 4 minutes, the game will just basically make you lose. That's the only way you can lose in this game. Just take around 4 or 5 minutes. I actually forgot. I may have to check again if I set it to 4 or 5. I think it's 4, yeah. If you stay idle for 4 minutes, then the game ends and it will just show that you lost. It will still show you how much or how many cherries have you picked, but it will not show any rating. No stars at all. Shame on you. Anyway, so as you can see, there are moving platforms around the map as well, and as you jump, you can be able to glide or control your jumps because I gave the character some freedom while in the air, so I can control my motion in air. And then I have added some visual design as well. As you can see, it's filled with delicious candies all over the map. We are missing four more cherries, so let's go back. So as we're going back, as you can see, there's a border in the map as well, and this border is basically just so that you won't be able to see the void outside the game. Because for example, this is the camera and your character is right over here by the house. If the border is not here, let me just show you real quick. If the border is not there, it will show you a black void, and it would look pretty awkward. Like, I'm gonna show you real quick. I also forgot to mention that the girl's voice is actually me. I recorded myself using Audacity, and oh, it's not hidden. I guess I can't show it to you guys unless I removed it. I just hidden it in the world outliner. But yeah, it looks pretty awkward if the camera is just here and there's like a void. So I added like a border, and that's basically what I did for this one. And I used third-party assets that are free and in public domain. I will link all the resources in the description below. And I also want to note that the music is also royalty free, so I guess if YouTube strikes me down, I guess I'm okay with it, because this is only for learning purposes and I don't plan to make a revenue out of my videos. Anyway, let's move on to my project folders. So as you can see, I have 4 project folders. I have, like the previous one, I have a characters folder, I have a core folder, an environment folder, and a maps folder. I'll start with the least important ones. So for the map, I only have one level, which is the Sugar Town level, and it contains this tile sets here. It's in the Sugar Town level, and if I click over to the Sugar Town, if I go to the level blueprint, I believe I don't have any blueprints here. So I guess this is just like the container for all the levels, this maps folder. So let's move on to the environment folder, which has a folder named Sugar Town and a folder named Tile Maps. So the reason why I separated Tile Maps from Sugar Town, which contains all the assets, mixed texture, tile sets, tile sheets, sprite sheets and sprites, it's because tile maps can be actually used like for other levels as templates. So instead of mixing it with these textures or tile sheets and everything, I separated it so it's much easier to pick and match a template that I can be able to use for the next level if I am going to create one, that is. So it's much easier to just drag it out, like this one, instead of actually making one from scratch or going through this pile of textures and sprite sheets and everything. I just want to separate it out. And as for this Sugar Town folder, so it contains the tile sets, the textures, and the sprite sheets for basically all my needs for this game. So if we click on the tile map, I have this outline, which is the border. Let's go to the Sweetville. So Sweetville is actually composed of multiple layers. We have a background, mountains, designs, peppermint water, platforms, and clouds. This is basically it. So some of them don't have collision, which is the design. This design or the background part of the tile maps. And as for the platforms, the clouds, they have collision. So the reason why the background is not located in this tile map is because for some reason I would glitch out of the map if I, like for example, I add multiple layers, around 10 I guess, or more than 10 if I add somehow around that number, maybe close, maybe less, but around that number. It will glitch out my character out of the map every time I bump into like a random tile, and it's pretty wonky. I'm pretty not sure why it's happening. I did see some forums that discuss the matter, but they just some of the people just let the others know to adjust the character's position in the map, which I did, but it's still making that glitch. So I just decided to make separate tile maps to have the border separated from the actual playing area, which is totally fine, and it worked out for me, and it didn't glitch out anymore, at least, thank God. Anyway, so that's it for my tile maps and for the Sugar Town folder. We move on to the characters folder, which contains Lala. And under Lala's folder, we have an animations folder, a sprite animation folder, and a sprite textures folder. Because the reason why, again, that I separated this ones, because there's too many textures, too many, too many sprite as well, as you can see. And it's really not organized looking if there are too much things going on one folder. So I just decided to separate them out. So you can see credits to the person who made this. I think it's Kenny. Let me just check out real quick. It's Kenny Platformer Art. He or she or them, they. They're the one who created these tile sets. Actually, almost everything here is made by them, except for the parallax background and the cakes and everything. They're made by another group of people who dedicate themselves into creating game assets. And I will link everything down below in the description box. So I'll move on to the animations folder, which just basically contains the animations. So actually, the death animation has like an animation of her falling to the ground, but unfortunately the collision on that one is very clunky, so I have to cut it once she's kneeling. I have to cut the animation so that it stays in frame, because it's like a 70 by 70. The tiles are like 70 by 70, and once she falls to the ground, she looks like she's floating on the ground, so it looks really bad. So I just have to cut it down while she's kneeling. Next, we have a fall animation and a jump animation. So like what I did in the first tutorial project, so once she jumps and reaches the apex, she will have a transition, which is this fall animation. She will immediately transition to that animation once she reaches the apex. Unlike the other one who has a transition animation, this one doesn't have any. As for the running animation, it's basically just a walk animation that I sped up. Because at first I wasn't speeding everything. She does look like she's running, but it's still so very slow. She looks like she's skipping, so I just adjusted the frame rate, and now she looks like she's running. For the walking, I didn't really change much. I think I did. I adjusted it from 15 frames per second to 20, so it feels like she's floating, bouncing, and it looks really cute. For her idle animation, it's just basically her bouncing up and down in one position. It's pretty cute. Alright, now we're done with the characters folder. Let's move on to the core folder, which has all the blueprints, all the important stuff that I added here in our game. So as you can see, I have a characters folder, a game mode folder, a HUDs folder, obstacles folder, pickups folder, and a sounds folder. So I just want to point it out there that remember to always keep the most fundamental part of your project in your core folder, especially the blueprints, anything that you think that are most likely to be important or has a main role for your project, you put in here within a subfolder that is specifically categorized for that specific asset. For example, for characters, I have the blueprint character for Lala. If we open that up, I have a blueprint code. It's very similar to my first tutorial project. I just added some stuff. So for this one, the event tick, I didn't really do much, honestly, for the event tick. It's still the same. It has this update animation, update movement, and it checks if which rotation is the character going to be facing towards to, and it will depend over the value of the input axis move right event here. So I didn't really do much for this code, but I did change some parts of this code. I'm just gonna run over through here. Not gonna discuss everything because I already discussed it in the previous video. So for this one, input axis move right, it's still the same. It's basically just checking if you're moving towards the right or to the left, or if you're not moving at all, and it will add movement input here. This one, it checks if it's moving right, and it will rotate to which direction the character is facing towards to. This one is an input action run, which is an axis mapping that I have added here for our game. Our run button is triggered by the left shift. So if we press that, the running boolean variable will be set to true, and if we release or don't press it at all, it will be set to false. Our jump movement is key bounded to our spacebar or our up arrow key, and once we press it, we have this jump function, which is already provided by Unreal Engine, and if we release or not press it at all, the character will stop jumping. So this is the part where I have added some stuff. Okay, first of all, since we're doing a double jump, you just can't like do this. You can just put two jumps after one. So what I did is after the jump, I made this do n, which allows an action to repeat an n number of times. So our n, or our number integer, is equals to 2, so it means that we can jump twice. And we have this event here, event on landed. If the character lands on the ground, it will reset this counter that is n. So that's our counter. So for example, we hit spacebar, so we jump, and now the counter moves to 1. We can still do another action, so we jump again, and it will launch the character by the pending jump z velocity, and it will jump towards the z axis with the momentum and the movement that you were with the velocity that you were moving previously. And after that, there's a branch here that just checks if the counter is 1 or 2. If you jump just like a one time only, if you jump once, this will show to true, and it will play the sound. And if you like double jump, it will play the ha sound. It's my voice, so I'm not shy with how the character like has that sound effect, like ooh, ah. So cute, right? Anyway, let's move on to update movement speed, which is the same as our previous tutorial project, which is basically just checks if the character is running and will update the variable according to it. So we promoted a variable here which is called sprint speed and walk speed. So whether you're running, you will get this sprint speed of 600, and if you're walking, you will get, oh, it's too high. Let's change it. Let's change it to 300. Okay. Or I think I'm blind. I didn't notice. Anyway, we move on to our animation management, which has our update animation blueprint. So our update animation blueprint intends to manage all the flipbook animations of our project. So first, like previous project, again, we check if the character is walking. So this is a function, and if the character is on the ground, this will show as true. So if it's true, it will move to this branch and it will ask if the character is not dead, aka alive. So if the character is alive, it will show to true again, and it will loop whatever animation that you are going to be using. So for example, if you're walking, the walking animation will loop until you stop, and if you're not doing anything, like no movement at all, the idle animation will continuously loop as well. What if the character died? Will the animation loop? The answer is no. So the reason for that is because the death animation actually only happens once. So once you died, it will play the animation once, and you will be teleported to the start, and it will reset the value of the dead variable, which is a Boolean variable that we use to determine if the character is dead or not. So we do not put it on loop, and after these two functions, the set looping functions here, it will just proceed over to update animation, and it will update the animation accordingly to which animation that is correct. So there are 3 now. Previously it only has 2. So I will go through step by step through that. So first, it will check if the character is running or not. If the character is running, it will go through the true value, which has the run animation. If it's false, it will go through the walk animation. However, if it's both false, it will move towards this idle animation instead on the next struct. However, I would like to make note that this struct here has an index that is determined by the velocity of the character. So if the character is moving, the velocity will not be equal to 0. So it's either a negative or a positive. If it's a negative or a positive, means the character is moving, therefore this struct will be used. This one, the first one. However, if it's not equal to 0, the second struct will be used, and the idle animation will be used as the animation for the character sprite. However, there's another return value. If the character is dead, the death animation will be then chosen to be the new or the updated animation. So before it chooses the idle, it first checks if the character is dead or not. If it's dead, it will choose this last struct here, and if not, it will choose this second struct, which is the idle one. So I put a note in here. 0 is false and 1 is positive. That's for the velocity. If it's going positive, it's moving towards 1. If it's, oh, never mind, I think it's here. It's supposed to be here, like the not value, not and equal, not equal and equal. So as for this one, these structs are pertaining which flipbook animation to use accordingly. So like I previously stated before, these structs are helping us to choose which animation is going to be used to be updated to our sprite. So once it has been updated, it will play the animation. So if it's deemed to be walking or is in the ground, the animation will be keep on looping. If not, it will fall under this branch here, which checks if the character is falling, aka maybe jumping or in mid-air. And if it's true, the looping function will be set to false as well, just like the death animation set loop function. So they're both, but we do not put them on the same page because in the jump, the character is alive, but in the death, character is already dead. So there are two different functions and they need to be separated. Anyway, if the character is dead, it will play the animation and then it will disable input from the player controller, which means you can't move the character, and there's a delay of 0.5 seconds, which then gives you time for the character to like play the animation smoothly, and it will teleport you to the spawn location, which is just the location of the player start. I just promoted it to a variable and named it spawn location. After that, the dead boolean variable is set to false, which means that the character is alive again. We revived her, and there's a small delay again, and then you will be able to use the controls back and traverse the level again as is. I hope I was able to discuss thoroughly this update animation part. I do have a function named update animation. Oops, I haven't commented it out. Perfect, we're here. Anyway, so our update animation function is basically getting the previous animation or flipbook and compares it to the new or the one being called to. It compares both of those animations. If they are not the same, the new animation will overwrite the previous animation. So using this set flipbook function. And once it has been set, it will then be played from the start. So the animation will then be played. So I will just comment this one out. Updates, the animation overwrites the previous animation overwritten by the new and being called animation. So, yep, perfect. Alright, so now we proceed to the game mode, and not like the previous tutorial project, I didn't use the game mode at all, but for this one I pretty much used it, and this really took my time for this project. Alright, so first of all, we have this is for the HUDs specifically. We have this event begin play that just basically adds the two widgets that we see on screen, which is the cherry counter and the timer. So these are the two widgets being displayed on the screen. They will be displayed at the beginning of the level. And then we have an event tick that continuously is being called every frame to check the game status and check the count time passed. I will first move on to the custom event I made, which is check game status. Okay, so the check game status checks if the player has collected all the collectibles in the map. If you can remember, I have explained earlier that if you collect all the cherries in the level, you will be able to win the game. So for this to happen, the total amount of cherries should be equal to the cherries acquired. So these are two variables I made here in our custom mode or our game mode currently. So total cherries is equals to 50, and cherries acquired is 0 for now, because at the start of the game you won't be able to get any cherries at all. You need to pick them up one by one. So for that to happen, I will show you the blueprint of the cherries. Give me 1 second. So we move on to the pickup blueprint, which has our cherry sprite and our blueprint for the cherry. I will go back to custom mode in just a short while. First, let's discuss our blueprint for our cherries. For the cherry, it's just basically a sprite with a spear collision, and I put an event, which is an event actor begin overlap, and I cast it to the character, and I cast to custom mode to get the game mode, and called the cherries acquired integer. And every time you overlap with the spear collision, it will add a value of 1 to the cherries acquired value. So it will add 1. If you pick 1 up, it will add the value to the cherries acquired. So once you pick up a cherry, it will destroy itself, and there will be a sound effect which you had heard earlier, just like a ding sound. And that's basically it for our cherry blueprint. Let's go back to custom mode. So since it's continuously being added every time you pick it up, once you reach the total amount of cherries, this will be set to true, and the win end screen will then be provided in our screen, and the game will be paused, and you won't be able to move around anymore. It will just be like a paused screen showing you your rating, your amount of cherries collected, your time to complete the task, and that's basically it, and you won. And next, this is the hard part that I was working on really for a really long time, which is the count time passed. So it checks how much time has passed in the format of 0000. First, I have like a delay of 1 in duration, and then it basically just there's a branch after that delay which has a condition for the 4th digit, which is this part here over here. That's the 4th digit. So it checks if the 4th digit is less than or equal to 8. If it reaches 9, it will stop from looping, and it will set the value of the 4th digit back to 0, and it will compare if the value is equals to 9. If it is equal to 9, then we move on to add a value to the 3rd digit. So it basically, at the start, this 4th digit will continuously add, like I'm just writing it down. So it will continuously add up to 9. Once it reaches 9, it will reset to 0, and this next digit will add 1 value to it, so it's 1. And then this one will start over again. So it will continuously add. Once it reaches 9, this one will add up again, up until it reaches 59. The code simply states here that it will just check if the third digit is less than or equal to 4. Once it reaches 5, it will stop this loop here, and it will continue to move on and to the next branch, which then will add a value to the second digit. It makes sense because this is the seconds, and 1 minute is equals to 60 seconds. So once it turns to 60, these two will reset to 0, and this one will turn to 1, and that's basically how it works. It will continuously count, and then until it reaches 4 minutes. So that is my maximum minute value, because it's just too long if you're like not completing the game by within that time frame. It's just a short game. It is a prototype, so if you have not finished the game before 4 minutes, you automatically lose, which is here the widget blueprint is shown, which is the loose end screen widget, and the game is paused as well. Now I'm going to show you the actual HUDs that I used for this game. So let's move on to the HUD, and let's open all of these up. Let's just click them one by one. It's much easier. So we have this wind end screen, which has like a U1, a total time, total cherries collected, and a rating. So there are 3 total stars to collect. And what I did for this one is I created a binding for these. Oh, sorry. I created a binding for these stars and for the total time, as well as for the total cherries collected. If we go to the graph, we have these binding functions, which just basically calls or casts to custom mode, and we get the game mode. We get the target integer. For this one, we get the total cherries acquired. So it will be in integer format, so we need to convert it over to string so that it will be able to be presented here in our widget. Because we can't actually show a value of an integer here. It will not be read, so it must be in text format or string. So it needs to be converted. So we do that for almost everything except for the stars, which is a binding towards the color and opacity. So for the stars, we cast to custom mode, get the game mode, and we get the integer specifically for that star. For right now, we do the second digit because I'm basing the star ratings whether if you completed the task before 1 minute, before 2 minutes, and before 3 minutes. If you completed the task before 1 minute, as you can see, it will return an opacity value of white. So the star will be shown in the screen. But if you have not completed the game within 1 minute or before 1 minute, it will return as transparent. As you can see, the alpha value is 0 here. So that's everything for these stars. They're all the same. It's just different in code. Like for the 1 star, it's basically you completing the game more than 2 minutes. So, but you're not supposed to go over 3 minutes. If you go over 3 minutes, then you have no stars. So you must complete it within like the time frame of 3 minutes. Sorry, 3 minutes before you reach 4 minutes, because 4 minutes is when you actually lose the game. Another widget that I have yet to discuss is the timer widget, which is basically these four, and I, like the previous ones, I just cast to custom mode, get the first digit, the second digit, and the third digit, depending on which one are we referring to. So for example, for the fourth digit, it would be the last digit on the far right. If where is it? This one. It will just be converted from integer to string, and it will be shown as string value here in our widget. It continuously goes through. We just binded the value over to the widget. And for the lose screen, it's just you lose, and it provides the total time, which is probably going to be 4 minutes, because that's the only way you can lose. And the total cherries collected will still be shown, and the rating will be default as no stars. Next, we have, did I already discuss the cherries accord? Yeah, I already discussed this one. So that's everything for the HUDs. Lastly, we have the obstacles. So there are only 2 obstacles in this map, which is the moving platform, which is the cake, and then the peppermint water, which is this collision box over here. So I made 2 blueprint codes. One is for the peppermint water and one is for the moving platform. They are basically just box collisions that I placed, and then I just put in a code in the peppermint water that once the character has overlapped the box collision, death sound effect will play, and then it will cast over to the blueprint of the character, which is blueprint underscore Lala, and it will take the boolean variable dead and set it to true. So the character will die, and you know, it's like a domino effect. If this one is set to true, then the death animation will play, and then the death sequence will also play. Like, it will disable the input, and it will teleport the player, and then it will re-enable the input, and it goes over and over again as long as you die multiple times. Anyway, after this one, there's the moving platform, which is basically, we didn't put anything actually. It's just basically this sprite of a cake and the box collision, and we are able to go up above it because we put the box collision on top of the paper sprite. And the reason why it's moving is because we made a level sequence, which is this one. The level sequence is just basically me animating the platforms frame by frame, and I set the loop to infinite, so they'll just keep on looping over and over like this. So that's basically it for my game, and I hope you enjoyed watching it and watching me explain the game as well, and I hope it was very concise. If you have further questions, you can just comment down below and I will be able to respond as soon as I can. I will be creating more games in the future, and I hope you will stick through with me and watch my videos and watch my progress as a game developer. Thank you so much for watching. See you the next time. Bye!